Hi, everybody. My name's Ian, and I am with the project delivery team at EnergyWeb, and here to talk with you today about some of our work that we have done in Australia. So, first thing, I guess, is an agenda because a few topics we'll cover today. So, first thing is why Australia. Second is what have we done there, and third is what are we doing next. So, on the first topic, why Australia? It's simple. Australia is a time machine for us. So, if we think about the energy transition globally, Australia is the country that is, we would say, furthest along in that transition. So, what we mean by that is they have huge amounts of rooftop solar, for example. And in some regions of the country, the rooftop solar on a particular day can provide a majority or even at times all of the energy consumption that people are using there. Sorry, electricity consumption that people are using. If we think about other markets, other countries that will advance along this path, that is where they will end up, but they aren't there yet. And again, Australia's already there. So it's a time machine. We can actually play in the future right now by doing things in Australia that other places just don't have available yet. And because of all that rooftop solar, they have a challenge. So there are business cases to make for doing things differently. And if you're trying to operate an electricity grid, having huge amounts of distributed resources, solar, battery storage, whatever they might be, presents challenges. They're not insurmountable challenges by any means, but in a traditional system where you have some centralized power plants that you're controlling, or even allowing to bid into a market, it's relatively simpler. I don't want to overstate how simple it is because it's still quite a complex machine, the grid. But it's relatively simpler. You have fewer participants. You know who they are. They're professionals. And so coordinating all of that is doesn't take as it's not as difficult as it is if you have huge numbers of people who all have their own mini power plants on their homes, and particularly if you're a grid operator that doesn't know how to, or doesn't have the ability to see where those are. So you are say prohibited by law, or that's the policy, the regulatory environment, that you can't have direct commercial relationships with all of those people who own the homes. Because of these challenges, as I said, this is there's a business case to be made, and this is the perfect place to try new approaches to managing the grid. And so that is why Australia. They've got we're in the future, and we get to try these things that other markets just aren't ready for yet. So what have we actually done? So we've participated in two projects over the past couple of years with Australia's transmission system operator, that's AMO, and together with a variety of stakeholders. So these are other organizations, other companies that participate in different markets that AMO manages there in Australia. Um, and these are projects that tested new ways that these different organizations, AMO and all of the other market participants, could coordinate and operate the grid in a much less, shall we say, analog way. So you could imagine if you had a very simple system, you need to call on a generator, a power plant owner, to change their behavior. Generate more, generate less. And you could literally call on them. You could pick up the phone and call somebody at that company and ask them to change their behavior. Again, when you have thousands of people who all have rooftop solar, for example, it's not practical anymore to pick up the phone and call these people. And again, you don't even know who these people are because you don't have relationships with them. So very different environment. And you know, the challenge there is we're trying to maintain the reliability of the grid. So uh, you can see where this starts to get complex. And again, we see this likely to happen in other places. So what we've actually done there, a little bit more detail on this one. We have deployed a decentralized data exchange. And so what this essentially allows the different participants to do, AMO and the different market participants, is share data about market conditions, about grid conditions, about physical limitations on the grid, so engineering related data, all in a secure and fast and inexpensive way. So again, the idea is if you have a huge number of participants and a huge number of assets and you can't see what all of them are who owns them, what they're doing, if you have some sort of shared infrastructure that allows the communication of data about those assets and about market conditions, this sure beats picking up the phone. So we participated in those two projects, Project Edge and Project Symphony. And more recently then, in the second half of last year, built a variety of improvements to the data exchange that we had deployed for AMO. And these improvements allow these other market participants to more easily onboard. So they can deploy their own gateways, not to get too far into the technical details, but deploy their own gateways, connect to the message broker and share data much more easily than they could in the past. So that's the most recent kind of update. So with all of that, what are we doing next? So with those improvements, those onboarding improvements to make it easier to deploy, we will be supporting AMO and these other market participants to further test that platform in actual market operations. So this is not a virtual sandbox play environment where they're pretending that they would operate in the market. This is actual market operation, and they will be sharing real data to try to manage the grid together over this system. So we, again, are going to deploy those, well, we've deployed, we are going to put into practice the most recent improvements, so making it easier to onboard. And these organizations will actually then use the platform in these in this data sharing rather than being on the phone with each other. And we will be, you know, part of the test for us is how easy have we made it? Have we made it so that these companies can deploy things with documentation and a bit of guidance and support where needed? But have we made it easy enough that companies that are not accustomed to playing in this space, shall we say, can deploy these solutions and start using them with very little help? Because obviously, if we want to get to scalability, we need to make this so that these different market participants can do this easily and not in a super support intensive way. So that's kind of the interesting test for us on the Energy website is how easy is the onboarding, how easy is the actual use in practice. We think with these improvements we've nailed those things, but we need to actually test it out. And the timeline for that is in Australia, they typically need to use these systems in their summertime. As you may know, being in the Southern Hemisphere, it is not entering summertime right now. So we're looking at later this year, imagine October-ish time frame is when we would see the most activity. These market participants actually really starting to gear up in using the platform. And that gives us some time then to just make sure that all of the processes are in place with AMO to allow these different companies to onboard and be ready quickly and know what they're doing. So that is a very quick summary, but I hope it gave you an overview, a bit of a flavor for what we're working on and kind of what the promise is and where we hope to take the technology, not only over the balance of this year, but as I said, this is a time machine. So if it works in Australia, it's a nice proof point to potentially be able to take to other markets in the future as well. Thank you.